I feel that they all have their own personalities, especially the real early pioneers. By the 20s and 30s, most of the airplane designs and control systems had followed one path, ailerons, elevator, and such. The early airplanes had wing warping and different controls. Sometimes had a aileron or a roll control in one hand and an elevator in another, and they were all quite spectacular in that they worked and they fulfilled a need, and they were in their early stages of development, which was interesting. I'm very much hands-on. I like the building and the engineering aspect of it. So it's fascinating to see how things were done in the early days and how these airplanes were built. The wood and the steel tube and the fabric covering. It's all quite different than today.
Gene, yes. From when you taxi out here to getting airborne, roughly how long would that be?
3 minutes.
From taxi and from start?
4 minutes.
I got
It's better for me.
I got to strap in.
But Nigel, we have to wait for John to get clearance.
Yeah, I got it. He told me to go.
Well, this particular airplane has a 160 horsepower rotary engine. The whole engine turns with the propeller. It's about 160 horsepower, 345 pounds, rotating at 1300 RPM. It's a little bit different, creates a different effect on the airplane. It has a lot of gyroscopic effect. The airplane wants to dive when you turn it tightly to the right and climb when you turn it to the left. The engine itself, the 160 Gnome, doesn't really have a throttle per se. It's throttled with the ignition system. It has a selector mag, which runs the engine at full speed, half speed, quarter speed, and eighth speed. That's why you hear that popping sometimes. And you can also run it on or off with the blip mag. It has dual ignition, but two completely separate operations. So you can run the engine wide open or off, or wide open to half, and adjust the speed accordingly. So throttle the airplane that way.
Off.
Starting the Sopwith Camel is not a trivial task.
Moving forward. Okay.
I knew you were coming when you were flying a Sopwith Camel, especially with the 160 Gnome. It has no exhaust system because of the rotary engine, and it has one big valve at the top of the cylinder, so it's quite loud, has a distinct sound. One of the other interesting things is it has a total loss oil system. About 12 pints an hour of castor oil go right overboard, covering the airplane, the pilot, and anybody behind it.
If starting the engine seems dramatic, check out the guy removing the chocks, a job strictly for the volunteer. Even on the ground, it's obvious the engine is hard to handle, and the role of the World War I pilot's white scarf becomes more obvious.
The scarf is an integral part of the First World War pilot. He used it to wipe his goggles from the castor oil and things like that. It was also a great protector around your neck. Fighter pilots always looking around, trying to look for other enemy aircraft, and in the wintertime, your neck would get quite chafed, so the silk scarf was preventing that.
A world first is being planned for this afternoon, involving a Spitfire. The The world first to be attempted at Wanaka was the aerial filming of two unique fighters in close formation, the Sopwith Camel and the Spitfire. This was a challenging task for both pilots, but in particular for Nigel Lamb in the Spitfire. He flew right on his stall speed, while the Sopwith Camel flew at full throttle. Like the Polycarpovs, landing the Sopwith Camel can prove challenging, especially with even a small degree of crosswind. There's no doubt that the Spitfire is the most famous aircraft of World War II, and this particular aircraft, seen here at a pre-show practice session, was included in the famous Douglas Bader film Reach for the Sky before being fully restored. The final Spitfire came off the production line in 1948.